Hi folks, we are back for part 2 reassembly of the SIG Sauer P210 American slide. I'm going to start by putting our extractor back in. So you have your extractor, you have its spring that provides tension on the rear here, and you have your roll pin that's going to go down through it. This is fairly simple. You're just going to need a little hammer and the same 5/64 roll pin punch that we used to take it out. Take my little roll of tape here that kind of uses a sort of bench block. Got a little fruit fly or something flying around here. Get here, buddy. I'm going to go ahead and put spring down in. There is a little hole back here right at the back of this channel that it sits down into. Just like that. I gotta make sure I don't swat this fly or YouTube will accuse me of cruelty to animals or something. Set the extractor down in there to where that little nipple on the end of it is sitting into the spring. And just like we took it off, you have to go inside towards the little breech face here and then just lay it back in like so. Now what I've found is convenient here is to just take this little gripper, little wood clamp thing, and use it about like this to apply some tension. And let me look at the camera here and see if you're seeing what I'm seeing. And just use it to kind of apply some tension so that spring is compressed to where that is lined up for you down in there. That just makes it easier so that you don't have to hold it. Of course, if you want to, you can just put your thumb on there and kind of support it. But especially try and make the video for you guys, I don't want to be blocking it, so it just makes it nice and easy. I'm going to go ahead and take my roll pin here, and I can see the slightest little bit of deformation here where the roll pin punch came through before. And so I'm going to use that as the side I'm striking again, so that we're basically just passing this thing through and then taking it back around and coming back in the same way. Put a little bit of oil on it to help it just slide through there nice and easy. And you want to be very careful on this part because you don't want to come off of this pin and cause a blemish on the slide. It's very important that you use the correct size roll pin punch and just go steady at it. You don't want to be aggressive with this. And so the way I'm doing this is I'm holding it with my thumb, index finger, middle finger on the punch like so. And then I'm using my ring finger here right against the interface there where they're contacting, just to make sure that I'm really staying in good alignment and supporting this action here. And I'm just going to start tapping very gently. This does not take a lot of force. It will find its way through. A lot of gentle taps are a whole lot better than striking hard and making a mistake. I'm seeing that I'm getting it kind of recessed in there. Let's look at it from the bottom side and see if it's about even. It could use a little bit more. I'm just going to go ahead and tap it a couple more times just to seat it a little more evenly. I'm going to make sure that I don't have any protrusion on the inside of the slide here that is still sitting down below the surface. And it is. Go ahead and release my clamp. Okay, and you can see we've got the extractor back in with no marring. Beautiful fit right there. And we'll just go ahead and make sure that it's moving smoothly, that we don't have any kind of resistance there, and that's working great. So I'm going to set that off to the side for a moment while we focus on these really tiny parts here that make up the firing pin block safety assembly. So you have the little housing for it here. You have this kind of groove in it. You have that hole there that goes all the way through to take the little pivot pin for the block. You have this hole in the end here that takes the plunger and spring that adds tension to that block. So here's the block itself. You can see that it has a little foot on the end of it here. That goes, if we're looking at it this way, that goes up. And this little more squared off side that doesn't have this angle to it, that's going to be what rides against the plunger here, the head of that plunger. The other side is going to come out kind of down here, and that's going to be what your trigger bar interacts with. The easiest way I've found to do this is to take the little pivot pin here, the little headed pin, and put it back in first. It seems kind of counterintuitive, but put that in, and then take your punch and just gently press it back to where it's sitting flush on the inside here. That way you're not trying to hold all this together and get this pin started, that it's already started for you. And it kind of seems like it likes to retain itself a little bit right there. So that'll be just fine to do it that way. I'm going to set that punch back there so that I know if I'm getting out of frame or not. So we have that sitting there just like that. The head is sitting proud on the outside and it's flush on the inside. I'm going to go ahead and take my little plunger. The narrow end of it is going to take the spring, just like you see there. I'm going to come in with the spring, go into that hole there. Should be able to see that, I think. And it'll sit a little bit proud, but you can see that it's just a little springy plunger like that. Now here's the part that's tricky. It's not very difficult, but it just takes a little bit of alignment. You're going to take this and kind of drop it in from the top like you see here. You press down on it. You want to make sure that you don't lose your plunger, your spring, and you can kind of take a thumbnail, it seems to work for me, and pull down on the little foot there on it while pushing in with your thumb from the other hand on a lever to get that lined up about right, and then I can use my finger back behind it to just push that pin back in. It takes a little bit of finagling the first time or two you do it, but I find that that works about as well as anything does, is just doing it that way. We'll make sure that we're sitting down nice here, that we're not having any protrusion of that pin head. And we'll take our finger here and just make sure that this is pivoting like it should, and it is. So let's go ahead, and while we're zoomed in, I'll take the slide back over here and show you the proper orientation of this going back together. The lever here, that is actually the block itself, is going to go towards the rear of the slide, and all these components here are going to be facing towards the inside of the slide. The lever obviously is going to be exposed. It's not going to be buried down inside there. This can actually be put in backwards. Obviously the pistol is not going to work that way. We just kind of put it on there, and it'll find its spot where it just drops down in, just like that. It has a couple of places where it kind of likes to hang up, just on the firing pin channel and things in there, but it should sit flush for you fairly easily without any force or pounding or anything. Just drops in. So let's zoom out and take a look at putting the firing pin back in. And now the final step, we're going to put the firing pin back in. Take the spring, it's not directional, goes back on the firing pin like so. And you have your firing pin retaining plate here, where the rounded side is going to be down here, kind of where the hammer would ride. So the top rounded surface here, like this, is going to sit down into the slide coming in from the bottom. The firing pin, the way it goes back in is the flat side here with this little cutout in it. It needs to go towards the firing pin block safety, towards the extractor, towards that side. So we're just going to take it, put it down into its channel from the rear of the slide here. And once we get a good ways in, we're going to need to actuate the firing pin safety, and it'll hang up here. What am I doing? I think I must have spun it a little bit. So flat side that way, and you gotta try to get it down in here without spinning it. There it is. So you can see that it's now being retained on the firing pin safety, but it doesn't go far enough in for us to get the plate in like this. And this is going to be hard for me to do on camera, but I'm going to try to do it without blocking your view. What I need to do is I need to press in further on the firing pin. Let me see if this brass punch is going to fit. This might make it a little easier because it's a little wider. So what I need to do is I need to press in on this. Then I need to actuate the firing pin safety. And while I'm holding that down, I need to come in with my retaining plate, just like that. I gotta put a little downward pressure on it from the back here, just to get to a line. And it comes in just like so, and you'll hear the firing pin pop back out. That's all there is to that. That is complete reassembly. If you want, you can do a little check here, where we'll take a punch and push on the firing pin a little, and it should only go a little ways. And then if we hit our safety, it should go in further, which it does, so that's working properly. We can see that the firing pin block safety lever here has tension, that it moves back when we press against it and then returns. So that's functioning just fine. And as earlier we did, we'll check that our extractor has tension, which it does. So we are back together perfectly. Folks, if you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe, share it with your friends, and check back for more videos on pistols and rifles and everything else. Thanks for watching.